Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Can I wake you up? I always said God gave you one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. And the one feedback that I got from this morning is it should have been the mayor's lunch or the mayor's dinner, not the mayor's breakfast. A lot of people come in early, but I will just say that I want to thank the chamber for this opportunity to be here this morning. It's a privilege. I want to thank all the sponsors, as was mentioned before. City of Hope and Republic and Golden West. In fact, President McGrath remembers when I was a young assemblyman back in the Ventura County area. He was president of Moore Park College, so we go way back. And I also want to thank my council colleagues. Natalie, Rhonda, Pat, Gracie, all the colleagues, because I will tell you, we could fight back and forth sometimes, and it could be very interesting, but this is not an easy job to do, and you're giving up a lot of your time from your family. And I've always had the experience that, look, I don't think anybody's evil. I think we all have different life experiences and different philosophies, and we try to come together when we can, but we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable is the hope that moving forward, and it's always been my hope as an elected official. And with that, I also want to thank the city staff. City staff does a remarkable job. It is hard to manage us cats, and I do want all the city staff to stand up. Please stand up. You know, there's so many times, thank you. I want to say thank you on behalf of myself, but there's so many times where a lot of people, Ronald Reagan used to say, you could get a lot accomplished if you don't care who gets the credit. And I will tell you, some of us council people will get a lot of credit, but really a lot of credit goes to this wonderful staff. And I want to thank you for all your hard work to make Huntington Beach a great place. And I also want to acknowledge former council members and mayors. I see Erskine and Keith Board. Please stand up if you are prior city council person or mayor of Huntington Beach. Please stand up. Shirley's here. Look, I think this is an unbelievable, wonderful city, and the reason why we have such a great city is because the previous councils have done a remarkable job building out this city. It's 95% built out, and the other 5% are in wetlands, areas we don't want to develop, but you had a vision, and we have a wonderful city because of predecessors. And I want to thank you for your service and your continued service to Huntington Beach. Now, some of the people were wondering what I was going to talk about today, and I always say, going through a whole bunch of pie charts and those kinds of things, really, I get bored when I watch those, and so I didn't want to do that today. What I wanted to do is kind of share a little bit about who I am as a person. If you know who I am as a person, then you know what guides me in terms of how I look at things, in terms of being elected as your mayor. In order to do that, I think it's important for you to know what's in my heart and how I was raised and how I look at things. And so in order to do that, I would like to share with you who my hero is in my life. My hero is my dad, Sergeant First Class Donald Strickland. Wow. So my dad just passed away of cancer about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. So my dad was my hero. He served in Korea, and on his 17th birthday, he joined the Navy, went to Korea, fought in Korea, and then after the Korean War, he dropped out of the Navy. He said it was the coldest he's ever been, and went in the Army and served 21 years in the Army. He actually won the Bronze Star for Valor in the Tet Offensive. And after he got injured in Vietnam, he became a drill sergeant at Fort Ord Army Base in Monterey, California. That's where I was born. I was born in an Army base. And my dad retired from the military when I was young. And I will tell you, you can imagine what it was like to be a kid with a drill sergeant for a dad. Every minute I was late, I was grounded a week. So there's a reason why I was the first person here. I'm early everywhere I go. In fact, Pat and Gracie will say, if I'm not there 15 minutes early, he's not coming. My friends used to call my home Strick Land because my friends were scared of my dad and they didn't want to come anywhere near our family because my dad had a projection of yelling and he made me do push-ups. It's a different time and different era. And I was a little bit scared of my dad, to be honest, but I always admired my father. But the biggest lesson I learned from my father was it's up to every generation to leave the next generation better off than what you found. Fight for something greater than yourself. That's what this is about. When we run for office, that's what we're doing. We're trying to fight for a greater future for our kids and grandkids. And that's what we're doing today. And I do believe this is the first time in American history where that's in question. Are we going to leave our kids and grandkids in a better position than what we found? Now, I've had the privilege, if you look at my bio, I got elected to the state assembly and I was in the state senate. And just to share a quick story, when I decided to run for the state assembly, I was 25 years old, just out of college. I was a Nixon scholar. And quite frankly, if I had a nickel for every person that said I was too young to get elected, I would have been fully funded. But I can't tell you how many people told me I had no chance. In fact, my friend said I was like Forrest Gump. I was too stupid to understand that I was supposed to lose. But I had a heart and a vision, and I walked tirelessly and I worked tirelessly to get across the finish line. And in fact, my opponent was a Harvard graduate, owned his own company, was a partner in a big LA law firm, and was planning and research director for Governor Pete Wilson. And he was a front runner, and everybody didn't think I had a chance. But I worked my tail off and walked hard, and we ended up having a stunning victory. And I ended up getting elected when I was 27 years old to the state assembly. And Mr. McGrath will remember that. I was a young man. So during that time, when I was the youngest member of the legislature at the time, anybody remember the energy crisis? Raise your hand. When we had rolling blackouts, during that time, you can visualize with me. I'm about 29 at that time, maybe 30. And it was a different time in California. In fact, Governor Gray Davis at the time, everybody thought he'd be the next president of the United States. And it made sense. He just won an election by 22 percentage points. He was the most prolific fundraiser in the Democratic Party, governor of the largest state. And he was incredibly popular here in California. And at that time, he locked the state into what we call these 15, 20-year energy deals, these long-term power contracts. And he wouldn't disclose how much money it was costing to keep the lights on in the state of California. So what I did at the time, I thought it was the right thing to do, I asked him to release those documents because it's not his money, it's not my money, it's the people's money. And they had a right to know how much money it was costing to keep the lights on in the state of California. Well, he refused. And he used a term called executive privilege and said, pretty much pound sand, I ain't gonna release these documents. So I did the only thing I thought I could do at the time. I took him to court in a lawsuit, Strickland v. Davis. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. And you can visualize this with me. I walk into my Republican caucus. I walk in as a group, the Democrats get together once a week, as the Republicans do. I walk into my caucus and I said, I'm suing the governor of California, who's with me? And to say I didn't get a warm response is an understatement. In fact, a lot of my Republican colleagues, they took me outside afterwards and they said, hey, this is the governor of California and he could be president of the United States. If you go forward on this, you're going to lose your office space. You're going to get every bill vetoed. And quite frankly, we think you have an unbelievable future in politics. You're going to end your political career before it gets, started. And so you need to drop this lawsuit. And that was my Republican colleagues telling me that. That's gut check time. And I remember why I got elected in the first place. Again, learning from my father. And so I was willing to stand on my own. And I went forward, I raised the money, I went forward in the lawsuit. So we went forward in the lawsuit. No one thought we had a chance. Not only did we sue the governor, we won in court. The judge ordered that the governor had to release these documents. And what we found out was he tried to lock the state in 15, 20-year energy deals that are higher than even the spot market at that time. So essentially, when it became public, the energy companies had bad PR, and they went back and renegotiated all those contracts. And we saved ratepayers billions, with a B, billions of dollars moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I say that's exactly the kind of leadership we need. And quite frankly, it's the leadership we need here in Huntington Beach. And so when, fast forward, after I left the state Senate and I represented another area. It was in Ventura County and Santa Barbara and part of LA. I got divorced, no decision of mine, but then I was fortunate and lucky enough to meet a Huntington Beach girl, and I moved to Huntington Beach. And I've always loved this city. In fact, my mom's she's a short little German lady who's very opinionated. I met my dad when he was stationed over in Vietnam, or not in Vietnam, in Germany. And we used to come here to Old World because my mom loved the German food here in Old World. And I've always loved Huntington Beach. And I've been fortunate and blessed that God put me together with my wife, and now that I was in Huntington Beach. And I was happy just being involved and helping where I could. I was driving down Beach and turning down Main, and a homeless person really jumped in front of my car. And I went down to Main Street, and the homeless were everywhere, and they were pretty aggressive. And quite frankly, a couple of people who I respect in this town asked me, hey, you should think about running for local office. And to be candid, I never thought about running for local office before. But I thought the city needed my voice, and instead of looking at someone else, I looked in the mirror and said, I think I can make a difference, and so I decided to run for city council. And I will tell you, everybody talks about four of us that came together. That happened organically. In fact, I'll tell you, Pat Burns and Gracie didn't like me at first. They said I was establishment. But as we campaigned and went around together, we got to know each other, and us three, along with Casey, I think Casey was a little bit warmer to me. Well, actually, he wasn't. Actually, Pat was probably the nicest to me of everybody, to be candid. But we came together and we did over 100 events together as four of us. And we came together, and it's unprecedented that four people run together and then all four win. I think that happened because we came together on four issues and said we were going to do this if we're elected. A contract with Huntington Beach, for lack of a better term. And the first thing in the contract was to unleash Michael Gates against a lawsuit, or for a lawsuit against the state over these housing mandates. Now, I'm not going to go into details because I know there's some differences of opinion here, and we'll have another time to fight that. But I personally think it's fundamental to preserve the quality of life here in Huntington Beach, and it's worth the fight. And some people have told me you can't win a fight with the governor. Well, I'll tell you firsthand, you can. And so that was one of our first items that we do. The second one was, to combat homelessness on our streets, and we're working hard to do that. And then the third was to make crime illegal again. And it sounds simplistic, but really what that means, and I think Chief Parra, let's give him a big standing ovation. He does an amazing job with his department. Please stand. That was our third, and I personally believe the most essential role of government is public safety. If you're not safe in your business, if you're not safe in your homes or your schools, everything else we talk about, we shouldn't even talk about. It's the most essential role of local government. And we're going to come together as a council to give you the tools that you need to keep Huntington Beach safe, because we are lucky to have the best chief that any city can have. And again, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You do a remarkable job. And that was our third pillar. Our fourth today is what I want to focus on is our fourth commitment. And that was to cut the red tape and roll out the red carpet for business here in Huntington Beach. My colleague Casey McKeon is going to come up with an item soon about one-stop permitting center here at City Hall to make sure we do what we can to make it as easy on people to get things processed through the city as fast as possible. And we're going to be asking the staff to do a lot, and we have tremendous staff that can get that done. And we're working with the staff to make sure we unleash and unroll that to make it as easy on you to do business. And so we need to retain business here in town, but we also need to grow our business. I want to focus my final comments on economic development, and how critically important it is to expand and grow our city's tax base. As the city ages, it must be constant state of renewal and evolving through redevelopment and businesses, retention, and attraction. If a city isn't investing in resource and economic development, its tax base will be stagnant. So I want to tap into the wealth of economic experts that we have here in the city and that's available to all of us as leaders in our local and regional businesses to ensure that we are strategic about how we deploy our limited resources in promoting economic development. To launch this effort, I'm going to organize a Mayor's Economic Summit to take place this year. And it's going to be headed by Ed Mountford and Kelly Miller. And so I already got commitments from the Chamber, Visit HB, the Orange County Business Council to come together, and I want Huntington Beach business leaders to come together in this Mayor's Economic Summit. Again, as I open, God gave you one mouth and two ears for a reason. We have people who do this day in and day out. And I want to hear from you, the leaders of our community and the economic experts of our community, our economists in our community. I want to hear from you what ideas that you can come together with, give to us, and take those ideas and implement them here in Huntington Beach and here at City Hall and help grow that pie, help grow the economy here in Huntington Beach. And I want to thank in advance Ed for being willing to take on this challenge, because I asked him it's going to be a big challenge. If you want to participate in that endeavor, please contact Ed or Kelly Miller. And by the way, Kelly Miller, stand up. Let's give Kelly Miller a big round of applause. You know, Visit HB is so essential in terms of, we know that we have so many millions of visitors that come to Huntington Beach. And he's always thinking of ways to bring and attract businesses here. And I want to thank him for all the hard work you do. And I'd like to just conclude that we're all in this together. You know, God has blessed me tremendously. I've had the opportunity to serve, and before even that, I was a Nixon Scholar. I went to Whittier College. I have the all-time field goal record for the most baskets in a game. Every year I check to make sure I still have it. I played pro basketball. I played for the Los Angeles Lightning. I got to travel and do what I loved in the basketball world. And then I was one of the youngest people ever elected to the state assembly, and I got to serve in the state senate. But really, one of the biggest honors I've ever had is becoming mayor of Surf City. I love this job. This is amazing. It's humbling too. You know, I get emotional just because I'm always thinking of my dad. You know, I know he's looking down. I want to make him proud, and I want to make you proud. And I want to thank you for those of you that supported me. Thank you for giving me the privilege to be in this position. For those of you who didn't support me, I'm working hard to earn your trust. And I will be out in the community, and whether you like me or not, I will be there, and we're going to be doing town halls, you know, mixers with the mayor. We're going to be out there, and I want you to know, whether you like my policies or not, I'm going to try to work with you to find common ground. But sometimes you could disagree. But at the end of the day, the one thing I want you to remember from me as mayor is I'm out in the community, and I want to listen, and I want to do a remarkable job and fight for all of us. Because Huntington Beach is a special place, and we need to do whatever we can to make it better for our kids and grandkids. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you. Yeah, sure.